The next greenhouse insect that we're going to look at and discuss is shoreflies. And as mentioned in the previous lecture, shoreflies are an indirect pest in our greenhouse environment, which means they don't necessarily feed directly on the crops that we're growing, but they can still cause a number of health problems for our plants. So real quick, we're going to look at some key characteristics of shoreflies so that we know when we're looking at a small flying insect in our greenhouse that we are looking at a shorefly. Shoreflies have wide, dark bodies and large, flat wings that lay down on their back when they're not flying, as pictured here. The key characteristic for identifying shoreflies is the 5 visible dots on their wings. And this is the leading characteristic that distinguishes things like shoreflies from things like fruit flies. Aside from seeing the flies themselves in your growing environment, the number one sign of shoreflies, and this is how if you're walking through an aquaponic system, you can very quickly see if there is a high population of shoreflies there, is the small black dots of fecal matter that they leave behind in and around your growing equipment. As a point of reference to understand how small shoreflies are, the block on the right-hand side of this photo is a 1 inch by 1 inch cube of rock wool inside of a plant site in a nursery NFT gutter. The fecal matter from the shoreflies almost looks like cooking pepper that's been sprinkled around the base of your plants. Another common sign of shoreflies in your growing environment is the presence of shorefly larvae. And these larvae can be found either on the plants that you're growing in your system, or very commonly on the media substrate and on the surface of your media beds. If you have a lot of plant litter or plant debris in your media beds and resting on the surface of your media beds, you'll typically find shorefly larvae in and amongst that leaf litter, or along the side wall water lines just above the water lines where the substrate is moist but not wet but not dry of your media bed. Here's a couple close-up photos of what shorefly larvae look like. As an aside, when trying to maintain a proper integrated pest management plan, or in general when trying to identify pests in your growing environment, I highly recommend that people purchase an inexpensive digital microscope, like a USB style microscope, because this allows you to take very close-up photos of the pests that you're looking at, so that you can more easily identify the types of insects that you're looking at, and can determine whether they are pests or beneficial insects. As mentioned before, shoreflies are an indirect pest, as neither the adults nor the larvae feed on your living plants. They are a nuisance and can be very unsightly on produce. Additionally, fecal matter from the resting flies can spread disease. Shoreflies are known to spread a wide range of plant fungal infections, so if you have a shorefly population that is growing and getting out of control, you're going to want to use a spray such as a neem oil in order to knock those populations back to mitigate the risks that their fecal matter has on introducing fungal infections into your plant tissues and into your growing environment.